What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Super Fantasy Bros podcast, or not podcast, YouTube show now. And it's part of the Triple Play Fantasy Network. And if you watch this again, just know we're going to YouTube exclusively now. And we really appreciate you guys' support last week. I'm one half of the team, as always, Kevin Coleman at DuBois_22. I am joined on my podcast by my co-host, Jacob Dunn. And Jacob, we are in the Fantasy Championships. How many championships are you fighting for? Are you out? Where are you at right now?
Yes, sir. I'm fighting for 2 championships. I went 2 for 3 last week, and I'll take it, man. I mean, as long as I can bring home 1 ship, I'm satisfied, my man. You?
I went 4 for 5, so I'm fighting for 4 championships. But I have no Cooper Cup, which means I'm playing Cooper Cup in every single league that I'm in a championship. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
I was looking at the rosters today. I'm like, this is going to be tough. But yeah, I'm in it, so hopefully I can win a couple on there, and we can go from there. So, hey, like always, we're going to be breaking down news and getting you ready for Week 17. This is the most important week of your championship week, and we want to give it to you in a quick little 20-minute video here about guys you should be looking at. We're going to get a little bit Dynasty today, some DFS, and then favorite bets of the week. So one thing I do want to say is that we do have a kind of a partnership with Fantasy Points, their media group there. We're part of it, and I would highly, highly, highly recommend checking out their website. They're going to be doing a new special here coming up after the Super Bowl. I think it's 50% off. Just go check it out. You can still use our 21 Triple Play 10 promo code right now, but please do that in the future, especially because Fantasy Points is a definitely good affiliate for us. All right, so let us go over. Well, first thing we're going to be going over is our Week 17 waiver wire ads. And I think Jacob does a good job on this, a lot better than me. He's a lot smarter than me on waiver wire ads. He plays a lot more redraft than I do. So, Jacob, who are we going after today, in your opinion? Who's the top waiver wire ads? Or if I stole yours, that's okay.
You are way too kind, Kevin. No. First up here for me, and he is a must-add this week, in my opinion, is Darrell Williams, guys. He is available in 40% of both Sleeper and Yahoo leagues. All right, so he's out there, or he could be out there. All right, so check your waiver wire. With CEH sustaining a shoulder collarbone injury last week, Darrell Williams is the de facto back in KC. All right, we've already seen what Williams can do as a starter. During week 6 through 10, Williams took over as the starter for the injured CEH and averaged 14 carries for 50 yards on top of 5 catches for 45 yards. He also totaled 3 touchdowns during that span. All right, Williams is looking at the lion's share of the work this week against a Los Angeles Chargers defense who just allowed Rex Burkhead to rush for 149 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yes, Rex. Rex is back. That's the crazy thing. Did you play Rex in any of your leagues?
I did not, but Kevin, I messed up because the Chiefs are in fact playing the Bengals this week. I don't know what I was looking at. I thought that the Chiefs were facing the Texans this week, but that's the Niners. So let's go back. Darrell Williams is facing the Bengals this week. All right, so it doesn't matter who he is facing, as long as he's getting the lion's share of work, he's going to be a top level RB for you. I have him in the high end RB2 range because of all those touches that he's going to get this week.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think, I like Darrell Williams, especially for CEH being out. I think his targets will go up there too. We saw him do pretty well right before CEH kind of came back, and we saw those numbers there. So I agree. I think if especially if you had that, especially if you had CEH, I think those are definitely options that you could come there. Now I'm going to go with my guy, and I'm going to start with the wide receiver because you went running back first. I'm going to go Joshua Palmer, and we know Mike Williams is out, and he is injured, or not injured. He's on the COVID list, so he's gone there. Palmer had a good game last game, 5 receptions, 6 targets, 43 yards, and a touchdown. I like that he was efficient. The Chargers are still fighting for a playoff spot. So when you look at what they do, and they had an awful loss against the Texans, so they're still fighting for a playoff spot, which I really do like. I think he's going to be set for a number 2 rule because Jalen Guyton is still out as well. Allen was there, but you saw defenses really bracket Allen. And so I think Palmer's set up to be there. He finds the end zone. I like Palmer, especially in deeper leagues, especially if you just lost Mike Evans or some of these other guys, the COVID list or injuries or Godwin, those other guys that you're looking for. If Palmer's still out there, I think he's a plug and play this week.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Palmer had over 40 yards and a score last week, and Mike Williams, like you said, is out. So, I mean, he is a smash play this week. I like that play a lot. And another guy that I think you guys should pick up if Darrell Williams is not available in on your waiver wire is Jordan Howard of the Philadelphia Eagles. All right, he is only rostered in 21% of Sleeper and 16% of Yahoo. All right, if Eagles head coach Nick Sirianni has already ruled out number 1 running back Miles Sanders for Week 17, which means Howard will handle the bulk of carries. Now, Jordan Howard departed last week's game with an injury of his own, but the Eagles are confident he can recover in time for Week 17. All right, Howard has been a man on a mission since being called up from the Eagles practice squad, averaging 12.5 attempts for 63.3 yards, while totaling 3 touchdowns over his past 6 games. Howard, to me, is a safe flex play. But if Howard somehow misses this week, make sure to have Boston Scott waiting in the wings, because Scott can also be confidently started in your flex if Jordan Howard misses this week with a neck stinger.
Yeah, man, poor Miles Sanders. We're never going to know if he's good because he just gets hurt and he just hasn't been there. So I can't believe we're talking about Jordan Howard in 2021 at the end of the season.
What year is it?
What year is it? I mean, 2022 coming too. Like, it's crazy. But hey, I agree. I think he's going to have a high touchdown upside there. Yeah. And they're fighting for a playoff spot too, which I like to see. My guy, and I'm going to go running back here. I'm going to say it wrong. Balway. Go ahead, Jacob.
Agumbawale.
There you go. Yeah, I'm a terrible teacher when it comes to names. But I think there's going to be a smash play. James Robinson being out, Achilles, obviously he's going to get the volume there. He had 2 receptions for 15 yards, but he did have 4 targets. And if he would have caught one of those targets, it would have been a touchdown in the flats. So you could have been looking at another receiving touchdown. He had 15 fantasy points there. I think that you plug and play him and you go. I know he's got a tough matchup with New England, but I do think he's going to get the volume. And if he scores a touchdown, I think that's what you're looking for there. I did have an interesting question. I did want to bring it. I had somebody ask me this, and I was going to wait to ask you because you're the smartest guy on here. Would you plug and play Dare, or would you do Burkhead this week?
I would do Dare 100%. I don't trust Burkhead going into San Francisco. Like you say all the time, Kevin, don't chase last week's points, especially with a guy with like Rex Burkhead. Like, I don't see him repeating those numbers. I see him getting a lot of carries. Yeah, like 15 carries for like 38 yards, and maybe he gets a lucky touchdown, but I don't see him coming close to those numbers. So give me Dare, because especially if you remember, Kevin, Agumbawale was supposed to be the starter last year. Before he got hurt, making way to James Robinson, and James Robinson, as we all know, took off. Like Dare has the starter gene. All right. And he is the de facto RB there. So I would definitely go with Dare there. Like even with a bad Jags offense, I like that volume better than Rex Burkhead.
Yeah, follow volume. Don't chase last week's points. I think that's a fair argument with what we're talking about. All right, let's get into your streamers. Who you got? You got a bonus one for us today. I'm excited about it. But who you got for your QB streamers this week?
Yes, sir. For my quarterback streamers in Week 17, I got Taysom Hill versus the Carolina Panthers. All right, Hill is only rostered in 27% of Sleeper and 42% of Yahoo. I had Taysom Hill last week as my favorite streamer before he was forced out of Week 16 with COVID. Assuming he gets activated from the reserve COVID-19 list, Taysom has a shot at leading your fantasy team to glory this week. All right, last game he played in Week 15 in Tampa Bay, he underwhelmed with 9.5 fantasy points, but don't let that deter you away from starting him this week at home versus a deflated 5-10 Carolina squad. All right, with the Saints at 7-7, you can bet that head coach Sean Payton, actually, I think they're 7-8 now because they just lost to the Dolphins. But you can bet that head coach Sean Payton will do whatever it takes to win this game, all right, at home, which means that Hill should carry the ball 10 plus times this week, giving him a very healthy floor. Before Hill's gutsy win versus the Bucs in Week 15, he was averaging 87 yards on the ground on 11 attempts with 2 total rushing touchdowns. He also averaged 220 yards through the air with a couple of scores. All right, so if you don't have any of the stud quarterbacks going this week, confidently start Hill as a low-end quarterback one with upside.
Yeah, if he gets off the COVID list, right, and he's there, I think he's there. I think that you have to kind of go with him against Carolina team that's been really struggling, bouncing back and forth. I think you could see some upside play there. All right, who's your next guy?
100%. And my next guy here is Justin Fields versus the New York Giants. All right, he is rostered in 43% of Sleeper and 23% of Yahoo. Here's another quarterback who didn't play last week due to an ankle injury. Fields has a decent shot to play this week, just because he came so close to playing last week but was ruled out on Friday. But I like his odds of returning for a Week 17 matchup versus a very tired Giants defense. All right, before missing last week, Fields was averaging 255 passing yards along with 3 total touchdowns to go along with 54.5 rushing yards on 8 attempts. All right, Fields has gotten significantly better as the year has gone on, and I love his chances this week at delivering low-end quarterback one numbers against a Giants defense who is decent but can't seem to stay off the field due to ineptitude at quarterback, with Mike Glennon and Jake Fromm leading the way. All right, if Taysom Hill isn't available in your league, Justin Fields is a fantastic pivot who should deliver mid-range quarterback 2 numbers with a quarterback 1 ceiling thanks to his rushing ability. Now to our bonus, man.
Wait, can we just agree that
Uh-oh.
Matt Nagy needs to leave? Like, get the hell out. I saw a
Please.
report. I saw a report that said he has an uphill battle of coming back, and someone put on there, "I hope it's Mount Everest," and I said, "I hope so too," because there's no way they can bring him back. Like, we got to unleash Fields, but I do like the matchup that he has there. So, all right, I interrupted you, but Matt Nagy needs to get fired right now. All right, who's your
interrupt
bonus
with Matt Nagy slander? Please get him out of Chicago.
Got to get out of here. Please. All right, who you got next?
All right, for my bonus streamer, guys, we got Trey Lance. All right, Trey Lance season. All right, Trey Lance finished as quarterback 20 in his first start back in week 5 with 15.6 fantasy points. He was mostly dreadful in the passing game, completing only 51% of his passes for 192 yards. But he made up for it with 89 rushing yards on 16 attempts. All right, you can bet the whole San Francisco team will be running the entire game and designing specific run plays for Lance, which bodes very well for his fantasy floor. If Jimmy G misses this week, which it's not a guarantee, but if he misses this week, I would slot Trey Lance ahead of Justin Fields as my second favorite quarterback streamer, right behind Taysom Hill. All right, the rookie would be in line for low-end quarterback 1 numbers with a fantastic ceiling at home versus Houston.
Yeah, I mean, hey, listen, unleash Lance, baby.
Please.
It's time. Let's see what he can do. I think that high upside is there if he does play. I think that you could, if you're really struggling with some guys right now, injuries, whatever. You see, if you had Lamar and then you went Huntley and then you went all these different guys, Johnson, you're like, hey, I need to grab somebody. I think Lance could be an interesting play, and I do think that they're going to kind of give him that. So yeah, no, I think that's a good call there. All right, let's go to our tight end streamers, and these are guys that, and I went a little different on mine, but I want to talk about why here in a minute. And just guys that you can maybe plug and play and go with. And the first guy I'm going to go with for me is Dalton Schultz from the Cowboys. I love Dalton. He had a great game last game as the Washington football team. Almost slipped up there again. Washington got their ass kicked by the Cowboys. Just want to point that out. You know, he had 9 targets, 82 yards, a touchdown, 22.2 fantasy points in PPR formats. And I think the thing that stands out to me the most right now is that he is actually second on the team in targets. Now, I know Amari has missed. I know Michael's missed some time. Right. But you know what? He's still second. And when you look at what he's done, he has 91 targets this year. In the last 2 games, he was 8 for 8 against the Giants for 67 yards and a touchdown. And against Washington, he was 8 for 9 for 82 yards. He's been super efficient, 91 targets on the season. He's gotten 17 targets the last 2 games. They open up that defense because of the outside weapons that they have. And Lamb and those guys coming back helps him even more. The reason why I put him on the streamers is because I've still seen people not start him. And weird. In a league that I was in, who did they start? They started a different tight end that I thought had okay upside. But I mean, you're realistically, let's say you have Pitts and Schultz. I think you have to realistically think about that and probably start Schultz just based on the volume and the targets that he's getting. So if you have Schultz and you have another option that's pretty close, I think I lean Schultz this week. Playing Arizona, not a terrible matchup, but I do think that this could be kind of a high scoring game. That offense looks like it's clicking. So give me Schultz in this week.
So Schultz did go on a little bit of a midseason slump, but like you said, Cooper's healthy, Lamb's healthy, like this wide receiver core is healthy, and Gallup's healthy, which gives Schultz even higher ceiling. So I would definitely start Schultz with confidence as long as everyone else is healthy, because he's always open in this Cowboys offense. And he got 9 targets, like you said last week. You can't bench 9 targets. All right. And Dak looks for him in the red zone. So I like that play a lot this week. Start him in your championship teams, guys. Let's go.
All right. Who do you got?
All right, so my tight end streamer this week is Cole Kmet versus the New York Giants. All right, the 22-year-old has been a steady contributor over his past 5 games, averaging 7.4 targets for 5 catches and 49 yards. All right, he doesn't have any touchdown to show for it, thanks to Jimmy Grandpa Graham, but that shouldn't deter you away from playing this very safe floor tight end. All right. Kmet has at least 41 yards in 4 of his last 5 games, giving him a high floor this week against a middle-of-the-road New York Giants defense.
Yeah, to me, it's just a touchdown upside play, right? I think it's a little risky depending on that, but I like Cole Kmet. I will say this, though, I know we're not in Dynasty yet. I would not bet my love on Cole Kmet in Dynasty. Like, I think that he's an okay athlete, but what you saw last week, 4 catches, 5 targets, and 49 yards, you need a touchdown with that. I think that's a ceiling, in my opinion. Yeah. I think he's okay, but I think in Dynasty perspectives, for a guy like Kmet, if you could sell high on him a little bit or maybe sell on that this offseason, I think I would go there. Let's talk. Well, since I already talked about it, let's talk about Dynasty values a little bit. So there's 2 guys I want to talk about today in terms of what you're doing with them in Dynasty. My first one is Amon-Ra St. Brown. Now, those of you that are out there listening right now, I don't know, a big value and a big tool that you could use is called keeptradecut.com. And I want to preface this by saying it's not the clear all be all for everything, but it is basically a crowdsourced website that allows people to see what values are in Dynasty for free. And it gives you opinions. Now, I will take it with a grain of salt with what it is, but I think people are using it now so you can use it for your advantage. So right now, Amon-Ra St. Brown has gone up 69 spots in the last few weeks and is all the way up at wide receiver 31 in terms of Dynasty value based into the public. So when you're looking at the public right now, he is ahead of guys like Darnell Mooney, Hunter Renfrow, Michael Gallup, Mike Williams, Cortland Sutton, Tyler Lockett, Brandon Cooks, Michael Thomas, Juju, Adam Thielen, Odell Beckham, those guys. And he's right behind DeAndre Hopkins, Calvin Ridley, Claypool, Cooper. So when you're looking at it from that perspective, I know Amon-Ra has been great, but there's 2 things I want to mention with Amon-Ra. He hasn't played with basically Swift, Hawkinson, and those guys healthy. And when they were healthy, he did struggle. He didn't have this breakout that we've seen. I do think the Lions are going to grab a couple wide receivers in the next draft. So you're going to be looking at, if Goff stays, which I think there's a possibility of them keeping Goff, maybe drafting somebody in the 2nd round, and then you're going to get some other receivers around there with Swift, Hawkinson there. I think it's going to limit his upside, his ceiling, and I think you can get rid of him now for a very good price, depending on what you can get. So, if, like, for me, from my perspective, I would rather have Darnell Mooney over Amon-Ra St. Brown straight up.
Same.
But right now, they're getting valued. He's valued over Mooney. So there's a chance you could use Amon-Ra for Mooney plus, and I think that's the deal that you make there. And I don't hate it. I think Amon-Ra is there. I'm looking up some trades recently, but a lot of trade deadlines still going on there. But I will tell you one trade that kind of caught my attention was Amon-Ra St. Brown and Kadarius Toney for Tony Pollard, Darnell Mooney, and a 2022 second. I like that deal because I'm not really a Toney or Brown guy. You get Mooney and Pollard, who upside backup, who I'm not like a huge Pollard guy, but you get a second as well. I think that's a pretty value trade there. But again, I think that if you use that website and you see that, hey, where are they ranked at? I think that's when you can kind of really kind of adjust your rankings there.
Mooney has such a ceiling. I think like buying him low is also my takeaway here, and also I just wrote down that site, keeptradecut.com. That's good info, Kevin. Thank you.
KeepTradeCut. I mean, it's good. I mean, I like to just look and see what people are thinking there. And people will use those websites for trades because they struggle with trades in Dynasty. A lot of people do. I even have in the past, like, hey, where do I value these guys at? And they also have Devy values too. So those you play Devy, I think there's a good way to look at it that way. My next guy, and this is a kid that hasn't played this year, Travis Etienne from the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, we've seen the Achilles for James Robinson. What I will say is based on Etienne's value right now, it's gone up even more. So when you're looking at kind of what we've seen, because of that injury to Robinson, the time to probably get Etienne was early in the season. But I did want to talk about his value right now because based on that website that I just told you guys about, he is still running back 15. So he has still a high value here. So this is one of those things. He's coming off from a Liftfranc injury. We know that. I don't know. We haven't heard a lot about his recovery. Right. I haven't seen it yet. I will say that he went for Hunter Renfrow in 2 seconds in a league. Obviously, someone going for it wanted Renfrow in 2 seconds. I think that's very fair value for Etienne. I'd go grab Etienne based on that because you could be looking at, if he comes back fully healthy, and these young kids we've seen it with Akers and these guys, a true running back one that's going to get volume next year. in an
Right.
offense that hopefully is better wherever they go with this
Right.
hire.
Right.
And I think ETN's a good solid buy right now. I saw him get traded for Josh Jacobs in a second. Again, Josh Jacobs is kind of on that career trend to arc down. You have to give him a second for it, but if you get ETN back, and again, running back one volume, that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. And I believe it's Byron Leftwich and Kellen Moore. I know you don't want to hear that, but those are the two leading candidates to get the Jaguars head coaching job. And Byron Leftwich has great experience in Tampa Bay watching Tom Brady. So
Yeah.
you'll have to think that he mostly writes the ship for Trevor Lawrence, like a better offense. Like you said, hopefully they will get a better offense, whether it's Leftwich or Moore or just like an offensive-minded person. So if ETN steps into a better offense, I like that call a lot to try to get him. I tried to get him earlier, Kevin, when like week 6 or 7, he wasn't biting. But I should have used that website to be like, okay, well, here is his value. You should just accept the trade.
Yeah, well, now you're gonna have to buy a little higher just because if you do want to
Right.
buy him because they see that, and I will think the injury is a concern, but I do think that
Right.
it's good value to know where those guys are at, in my opinion, just so you can kind of play it here, and know where
Yeah.
they're at. All right, so that's our dynasty values. I'm gonna go through a couple guys every week, especially when we do the show of just guys that values are changing and going through it because trades are opening up next week. I just made a trade this morning. I traded Kadarius Toney and Dearness Johnson for Juju, a 2022 second, and a 2023 second.
I saw that tweet and I thought that was a smash trade. Buy Juju on the low with some great draft picks. That's incredible.
For two guys that are, I think they have Tony has a high ceiling, but I think it's very volatile. And so I'm just going to get out of that because I don't want anything to do with Daniel Jones. All right, let's go over our DFS locks of the week. Who is your guy that you feel like you're plugging into your lineups this week?
All right, Kevin, I'm plugging Elijah Mitchell everywhere in my lineups. He is $6,000 on DraftKings. Elijah Mitchell goes up against a Houston Texans defense, giving up the 6th most fantasy points to running backs. All right. Mitchell has been sidelined over the past 3 weeks with a knee injury, but he's had over a month to heal and should be ready to roll against a very soft Texans run defense. All right. But if Mitchell does sit out one more week, Jeff Wilson is an easy pivot priced at $5,600, and he should get all the run he can handle in a potential positive game script for the 49ers. And like we said, with Trey Lance starting, Trey Lance is going to get 15 plus carries. Elijah Mitchell or whoever starting, if he doesn't start, if it's Jeff Wilson, he's going to get 15 plus carries. This is going to be a running game for the 49ers. So whoever is starting at running back for the Niners, whether it be Mitchell or Wilson, start them with confidence on DraftKings.
Yeah, I think that's great. Anybody in that lineup, right? And I think 6,000 is a good price, especially for Mitchell, because you can be looking up volume. Volume matters in there, and I think there's a real conversation to be had about does the player matter in that system, or does the system matter more? And I think that's a conversation for another time. Sure. All right, let's go to my guy, Sony Michel. And you know what? I know Cam Akers could be coming back, which is crazy. They said he might get some playing time, but Darrell Henderson is out now. So Darrell Henderson is going to be on for 3 to 5 weeks. You're looking at Michelle last week, who had 27 attempts, volume, 131 yards and a touchdown, 20 fantasy points. He's at 5,800 right now. Rams again pushing for that playoff spot. I think they're going to lean on him. Stafford's been struggling a little bit, and they did definitely led on him. I think he's a smash play in my lineup.
Yes, especially with Darrell Henderson dealing with a knee sprain. I mean, like, he's going to be the guy, even if Cam Akers plays, which is absolutely insane. I mean, like, I don't know what Cam Akers is made of, like Adrian Peterson genes, like, it's crazy. But even if Cam Akers plays, you can't expect him to get more than 5 carries just to get his feet wet, So
yeah,
Sony Michel is definitely a lock play this week. I like that a lot.
Yeah, no, I think it's good. I think those are 2 locks for us, especially the running back position. I think you can win some money at that running back position this year, or this week. Excuse me. There's a lot of good value out there. All right, let's go to our last segment. No player props today. Props to Jacob. No pun intended. He hit his player prop last week with Miles Sanders. Yes. I missed mine by 6 yards because Jalen Hurts hates Devonta Smith. That's what I have decided. He had 44 yards in the first quarter, and he didn't get it. He got one more target after that, which is just sad in reality there. But we're gonna go our favorite bet for this week. So we're going to go there, and we're going to be talking about guys teams that we think could win this week. Who is your team that you feel like you're going to be betting on?
Yeah, I am betting it on the Cincinnati Bengals. All right, they are plus 5.5 against the Chiefs at home. All right, the Bengals are heating up against the spread over their last 2 weeks. All right, the Bengals traveled to Denver as 3-point underdogs and beat them by 5 points, followed by hosting a Baltimore team as 8-point favorites and not only covering, but annihilating the Ravens 41-21 that featured an offensive explosion from the Bengals offense. All right, Cincinnati is feeling good right now and shouldn't have a problem matching Patrick Mahomes score for score this week. So give me the red hot Bengals getting 5 points at home this week.
I like that call with Burrow big, right? And then against that passing defense, I don't hate it. I think the Chiefs, they're fighting right now. These guys are both fighting for it. The Bengals need to win. They got to get in. And so we're going to be seeing it. I think this is going to be a fun game. And if you have any of these guys in fantasy, you're excited because I think it's going to be a shootout.
Oh, yeah.
All right. My team is going to be LA. And I think the Rams are going to win this game. They're -3.5 favorites over the Ravens, but the Ravens are completely beat up. I think it just came out this morning. They're losing a couple more. I think a linebacker or somebody else for COVID. They've had a lot of COVID issues that are going on. So give me LA. I think this is going to be a good game for them. And you know what? I would bet my college money on this. My daughter's college fund there. Yeah. But I do think that -3.5 against the Ravens, a game that they need to win. Now, granted, I'm a Cowboys fan, so I need them to lose. But I just think that the Ravens are just trying to overcome too much. Now, if Lamar comes back, maybe. But Lamar has been out again. His ankle's still kind of messed up. So you're looking at, can he kind of battle back there? I think with the injuries, it's just going to be too much.
I agree. I like the Rams this week. The Ravens are just a little bit of a mess. Rams seem to have it all together from when they were a mess when they lost Woods. So I like that play.
Yeah, no. All right. Well, hey, we appreciate you guys tuning in to the Super Fantasy Bros show again this week. And me and Jacob had a lot of fun this year giving you guys all this stuff. We will be coming back. And so this isn't just going to be during the season. We're going to be giving you guys shows every week. Different topics. If you have any topics that you're interested in, let us know. Definitely some Dynasty stuff, rankings. I'm sure me and Jacob will go through maybe our off-season rankings heading into the off-season where we have some guys and going through it. So good luck this week in your championship games. Jacob, you got anything for him before we get out of here?
Just want to say, hope you had a very Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and let's get you a championship and let's win you some money. Let's get
win money. That's what this is about. Win money. Stop splitting your pots. Go win. Go big or go home.
Exactly.